Prasad, compared to the other panelists, you've done something very different. I mean, we are familiar with IT companies being incubated, biotech or life sciences, but you founded an agri-biotech incubator. And so tell us about those companies, where did they get funding from? And then you did something even more different. You turned entrepreneur yourself, albeit in a different field. So take us to both those.
Yeah, I did turn, the question of the best man turning bridegroom. Yeah, I did. And of course, it was after quite a few years of being an incubator manager myself. We had one very interesting case which I would like to share here. One of the biotech companies, agri-biotech companies based out of Hyderabad, they used to work with us. They had reasonably good traction, and they were doing primarily contract farming and stuff. Pretty reasonably established business model. And typically what an investor looks for is you have everything else ready. The team is in place, the idea is in place, and business model is proven, and money is the only thing which is required to scale up the business. That is the stage in which any venture capital firm would come in. This particular case, what happened was, since they were working with, like you said, as an incubator, the person who invested, he came, he didn't even come, his brother-in-law came actually. He came in the morning, he understood what these guys were doing, whether they were on the right path, and everything. At the end of the day, in the evening, they had a check for 10 crores, that's equivalent to $2 million. And the funder was none other than Raghvendra. So, it's the question of, Tommy said it and Sanjeev also said it, it's the question of being super ready. And of course, super ready means, one is the hard readiness, which we all know. You need to have a product, you need to have a proven business model, you need to have paying customers and stuff. But the more important thing perhaps is being soft ready. Let me just add a few points on what I mean by being soft ready is because, we were funded by a Singapore-based company. We were funded $1 million. And this from, this culled out from some of our personal experiences. You should be, as an entrepreneur, when you go for a VC, you should be prepared for a bit crowded room at the top. Many other VCs, they say it's hands-off approach and all that, but invariably it so happens that, you should be prepared for a bit of a crowded room at the top in terms of strategic decision making. And you need to be answerable and responsible, which perhaps you were not earlier, but when you are funded, you've got to be all the more responsible and answerable. And you've got to have the maturity to face strategic disconnects. And some of the strategic disconnects often, they reflect on, operational disconnects also. It's not just at the strategic level the disconnects happen. And you should understand one thing here, the maturity is not like, when you discuss a strategy and at the end of the day, if the strategy fails, you don't get into, this blame game. Once you have made a decision, whether this come from you or the funding agency, once you have decided when you quit the room, it's our decision. Okay, it's no more I told you so. That kind of a blame game should not happen. And invariably, most of the companies, most of the ventures, as well as the VC fund, they get into this kind of a game, and that's a big spoiler. So, one entrepreneur side, one has to have the maturity to handle these disconnects. And another important thing is, we all tend to think funding is the beginning, or funding is the end. After that, it will be a smooth sailing. Actually, funding is only a means to an end. The real journey begins from the moment you are funded. And invariably, it's not that you have a big kitty. You are skating on thin lines, so you've got to be much more careful when you are handling VC money, more than your money. So please bear in mind that you are skating really on thin lines when you have a VC fund. And I'm going to be a bit provocative here. Most of the so-called value-adding VCs, they will push quite a lot of non-value-adding leads and really non-synergistic leads and proposals to you. As an entrepreneur, you've got to be smart enough. That's the question of being soft readiness comes in. You've got to be smart enough to call out what is relevant to your business, what is really value-adding. Because otherwise you would be pursuing all these false leads and your limited bandwidth will get cramped. So this is another very important factor for being soft ready for an entrepreneur. And this is my favorite story. I don't know whether I've said it before. As an entrepreneur, you've got to collect the apocryphal Rockefeller's check. You're aware of the story? See, one entrepreneur, he's
okay, sure.
He's struggling in his business. The huge debts outstanding, and creditors are pressing his door, and operationally he's in a mess. He doesn't know what to do, how to survive, and really frustrated. He takes a walk in the park, and there he meets an old man in a wheelchair, and he says, "Young man, why are you looking so happy?" He says, "Sir, my business is gone for the things, and I'm really, at my tether's end." He says, "Don't worry, I'll give you money. Separate your business and use this money." Cuts a check for $1 million. He is very happy. He comes back and says, "Okay, I got this cushion now, but let me just try to run my business properly without this money." So he starts, focusing on collecting the money, the outstanding, then buy some time from the creditors, and does all the things right and turns around the business with the confidence of $1 million check which he got. Once his business is all right, he says, "Let me go back to the old man." So he goes back to the park, and the old man is there in the wheelchair, and when he is about to talk to him on lady comes in, he says, "Sir, sorry, this man is slightly off the, he's off the rock," and he claims himself to be Rockefeller, and he keeps cutting checks from non-existent bank accounts. While this story may be true or may not be true, as an entrepreneur, you need to have that Rockefeller's check, which is your confidence-building measure. It could be some good words from your your friends, customers, your goodwill that you have got with people whom you can go to, who can give you frank opinion. For me, for example, I have Suta as my guru. He doesn't even spend a minute in my business. But the thing is, anytime anything is there, you say, "Don't worry, you go ahead and do it." That's all he would say. But that itself is like a big Rockefeller's check. So as an entrepreneur, it's very important that you have this Rockefeller's check, especially with VC behind your back. These are some of the things which are very important for being soft ready, when you're approaching a VC.
Thanks, Prasad. In passing, I hope you did notice that he called funders people who are off their rockers. But I think this is a very appropriate moment to take a pause. The whole objective of this session was to make it as interactive as it is. So please, let's have your questions. I have sitting on my left and right two very, very deep pockets, and then entrepreneurs as well who've been there and done that. So who's going to ask the first question? Please be brief, and please identify the panelists who you would like the question answered from. So is that half a hand there, or is just a finger going up? So do we have mics going around? So, I think.
Yeah.
Great, thank you. The gentleman there in the first. So please identify yourself and read the question.
I'm Dr. Raghvendra. We have been doing work for sugar industries and chemical industries. My whole single question is, in joint ventures, the fund comes from abroad or from any other source. And if the whole thing goes in the right direction, that the profits increase and business also builds up, then actually the joint venture capital is the credit, or the entrepreneurs are to be given the credit?
Who would you like this question to be answered?
The next person, sir. To you.
Yeah. I think the entrepreneur gets all the credit. Normally what happens in joint venture, you pick up a technology or you pick up money from somebody and you have to operate. And when you operate in India, India has probably the best entrepreneurs, because it is toughest for them to set up a business and run it here. So that is why you have the best entrepreneurs here. There's a study by UCLA University which says that persons of ethnic origin they have identified in the US who have succeeded in the US. For Indians, it's a cakewalk in the US. Everything is ready for you. You just have to obey the law there, and you get a success there very easily if you focus on your own business. Here, you have to focus on your business as well as everything else. So I think the entrepreneur deserves 150% credit in India. And if any venture capitalist like me tells you that we deserve the credit for doing anything for them, I think you must take it with not only a pinch of salt, but probably a whole handful of salt. Thank you, sir.
Sure.
Yeah, I want to add a point to that is investors exist because of entrepreneurs. And that is a point that you can well understand once you've started building businesses. And they love you. Once you start giving them returns, so they're kind. Obviously, there is a certain responsibility that goes with the VC supporting, the mentoring that goes, and all those credits should be given to them. But ultimately, it's the entrepreneur who really gets the limelight once you start succeeding. Nothing succeeds like success.
Said to Mr. Anand Sharma. Is there any template to verify whether this business model is worthy of VC funding, or successfully running small business in itself is a sign of that business being worthy of VC funding?
Tricky question, but I'll answer it very honestly. A small business which is working presently certainly has a much greater chance of success, provided, I think Tommy pointed out 5 or 6 things which are required. A clear business proposal, clear product or service, appropriate strategy, risk factors clear and identified, big upside, and a reasonable time scale. Now, if it meets these criteria and is a small enterprise already running, then there is a proof of concept, there is a proof of even the business being viable, and the proof that the business can run. So naturally, it will have much greater chance of success. If it is before that, then the chance of success is lower. But if it has all these qualities, then it can really, work as a.
Sure.
I'd like to add on this on personal experience. I started a startup in 2002. The product was not ready for the Indian market. India did not recognize the product, but we carried on as a small enterprise. We turnovers starting at 40 lakhs in the first year, and we made a loss of about 25 lakhs the first year. We broke even on the next year, and we followed a strategy that said, wait for the market to open. And today we are still a small enterprise with a turnover about 3.5 crores. But today the market for the product has opened up vastly. I mean, the market jumped close to 700% in the last 3 years alone. I'm talking about cool roofing, where the market today stands at more than 700 million square feet in India, where 3 years back that market was not giving 20 million square feet or 30 million square feet. It has jumped drastically. That led to this small enterprise to say that let us put up our manufacturing capacity. We already have a model. We are already a profit-making company. We already have, our reserves are close to 1.5 crores today. And we said now we need to finance ourselves and put in a new plant by say about 15 crore rupees and make an estimated turnover at somewhere around 30 crores in the first year itself. We found, I understood what Sanjeev said just now, that we were not ready with the correct, we had just 5 pages to show. This is the product, this is the market, this is the client list, and this is our vision. So we were, as he said, is there a template that is there to tell that am I VC ready and what does the VC want out of me? It makes it easy because I am running multiple businesses. It makes it easy for me to fill in the template of what they want. Is there a template that would tell me that this is what you need to fill in Fill in all these figures and we'll tell you whether you are.
In my earlier life, I was a consultant, and I'm very tempted. I could have pointed out, the right abbreviated firm. But, there's real right way. It's getting the financial model right. And there are several, today you get a lot of software that helps you with that as well. Those numbers, in Excel, any formula that you can put can, appear very fancy. But it's the ground realities, the assumptions behind that formula, and how solid they are. It really depends on that. And if you create that, if that financial model is robust, then putting those 4 pages of the business plan that you said are very, very easy. I mean, it's really looking at the heart of your Excel sheet and, really, really solid assumptions based on how those numbers have been put together. Any more questions?
Sir, I have a question.
Please, for me.
We are running over time. I hope you are not asking.
When the session is concluding.
Sir, I have seen your strength as mergers and acquisition.
Right.
Can you illustrate one example where a VC funded company has been got acquired under VC's compulsion?
Right. Well, there are several, and without naming names. Actually, if you look at it, that really springs from the exit strategy that you afford a VC. And I saw Tommy's slide specifically didn't have an exit, and I was just going to ask him about that. Invariably, the plan that you make should have a slide on how would you afford an exit to the financial investor. After all, he has to also return the funds to his investors. And some entrepreneurs I've seen get quite upset, saying that you've not even invested, you're talking about exits. But if you don't put that, so you've not thought it through. And if you look at it, and especially when you're a startup enterprise, the chance of your going an IPO are very dim or limited. And looking at where the market is going, a lot of large companies are also finding it very tough to go to an IPO. So then what options do you have? Like Dr. Bhatt said, a trade sale is or where you get sold. So, usually you'll have in the term sheet what are called as tag along or drag along rights. That if they find that, enough value has been extracted from your company and this idea can blossom where the company then vests with another owner, they would want you to sell the company to a partner. This happens and you have to be mentally prepared for it. You can't say, this is my company, you can't tell me what to do with it. Because invariably, I have not yet come across a term sheet which doesn't have tag along or drag along rights. And that is if you didn't afford your investor some modicum of exit, how would he in turn be able to raise a second fund? We are like most things in India, which are, it's little beyond the projected time. So our session has also gone a little beyond the projected time. However, just in winding up a few quick comments, Sanjeev, you said that you actually failed 59 times. In India, I think the single biggest disadvantage that we have is the stigma attached to failure. You fail once, my God, that chap, he failed that and the bank, the money is gone. So, and it's very difficult for a nation that believes in reincarnation. We can't afford an entrepreneur one more life. So on that note, please don't look at failure as, a full stop, but merely a comma. And we have to put a full stop to this session, I'm afraid. Thanks so much for your participation.